I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on fractions. We'll understand how to add or subtract fractions in this particular video. I've taken examples where most of them have different denominators. We have also taken terms which have three terms to add. To begin with, we'll understand what are equivalent fractions and also what is lowest common factor. And then we are going to add or subtract fractions given in question number 3. You can always pause the video, practice, and then look into my solutions. So let's begin with the very first question, which is write 3 equivalent fractions for 6 over 8. So 6 over 8, when we say equivalent fractions, what we can do here is that we could multiply both numerator and denominator by the same number. For example, we can multiply by 2. So if I multiply both by 2, what do I get? 6 times 2 is 12 and 8 times 2 is 16. 2 by 2 is like 1, so these are equivalent fractions. Well, we could even divide, right? So we could even divide by the same number in this particular case. And when you divide, in this case, you get 6 divided by 2 as 3 and 8 divided by 2 as 4. So 3 by 4 is also equivalent to 6 by 8. Now 3 and 4 has no common factor. So that will be treated as the simplest form, right? So 3 by 4 is the simplest form. We also sometimes call this as the lowest term. Okay. Now to get equivalent fractions, you can actually get to the lowest term and then also you can multiply and divide to get higher numbers, right? For example, now if I multiply and divide both by 4, for example, right? So we do times 4 over 4. I mean to say multiply numerator by 4 and also denominator by 4. Then what do we get? We get 12 over 16. Do you see? It is exactly same. So you could go down and up, right? Or you may keep on going like this. Multiplying by 3 will give us 18 over 24. So we can write many equivalent fractions. You get an idea, right? So that is how we could actually write equivalent fractions. Now, one question for you here is, let's say question 1b. We are given 6 by 8. I want you to write an equivalent fraction where the numerator for us is 9 and denominator you need to figure out, right? So that is a question, test question for you. Now let's move on and take up question number 2. In question number 2, we'll see how to find lowest common factor. So we have taken 3 numbers here, 10, 12, and 15, right? So we are trying to figure out, lowest common multiple, not factor. We can actually write multiples of these numbers. For example, multiples of 10 are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, likewise, correct? Multiples of 12 are 12, 24, 36, 48, and then we get 60. So you say 60 and 60 is common, so we are going to stop here. Multiples of 15 are 15, 30, 45, and then 60. So what you notice here is that 60 is their lowest common multiple. So we'll say that the LCM is equal to 60, correct? Now here is another method which we say alternate method. So alternate method is like ladder division. So what we do here is that we take the numbers. Here we have 10, 12 and 15. To find the lowest common multiple, we first figure out what are their common factors. Now we could actually divide by 5 two of these numbers. 5 times 2, you cannot divide 12, write it as such, and that goes 3 times. Now you will notice that 2 and 12 have a common factor of 2. So we could divide these two by 2, so we get 1 and 6. 6 and 3 have a common factor of 3. So we'll divide this by 3. So what we are doing here, that in steps, now since 1 cannot be divided further, we are writing 1 as such. 6 divided by 3 is 2 and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So with that we get these numbers on this side. Now the lowest common multiple is equal to product of these numbers, which is 5 times 2 times 3 times 2, right? Multiplying by 1 gives you the same number. Now 5 times 2 is 10, times 3 is 30, times 2 is 60. Do you see how easily we have got the LCM? Correct? Now this will always help you to add fractions which have different denominators. For example, if I tell you to add 5 over 12 plus 3 over 10 plus 7 over 15, in that case we have to write equivalent fractions with denominator of 60 and then add, right? So let this be a question for you. So I'll call this as question 2b. You need to add these three fractions. You know that the LCM for 12, 10 and 15 is 60. Correct? So let's move forward and take up the third question, which has so many other practice questions. So to begin with, we have taken a very simple example where the denominator is same, 3 and 3. If the denominators are same, you can directly subtract, and we could write this as 2 minus 1, and we have a common denominator of 3, so we get 2 minus 1 as 1, and 1 over 3 is our answer. So you take away 1 from 2, denominators remain same, so 1 over 3 is your answer. In this case, 1 over 3 plus 5 over 6, the lowest common multiple here between 3 and 6 is 6. So we have to write equivalent fractions. So now write equivalent fractions whose denominator is 6. So we could do like this. We could write this as 2 over 6 plus 5 over 6, right? How did we get 2? Well, to get 6, I have to multiply the first term by 2 over 2. Multiplying by 2 over 2 is as good as multiplying by 1. So we don't really change it. This is an equivalent fraction. You get it, right? So when you add them, 5 plus 2 is 7, and we get 7 over 6 as our answer. Now 7 over 6 is improper fraction, so at times you may have to divide 7 by 6. It goes one time and the remainder is 1. So you may have to write your answer in the form of 1 whole 1 over 6, right? So that is converting improper fractions to mixed numbers that may be required at times. Okay, let's do the next one. When we are given 4 and 10, these two are different denominators. First step will be to find the lowest common denominator or lowest common multiple. So the numbers are 4 and 10. We could divide both by 2, so we get 2 and 5. And now we know that the LCM is what? LCM is 2 times 2 times 5, which is equal to 4 times 5 as 20. So we have to make each denominator as 20. So how can we do that? So we have 1 over 4 plus 1 over 10. To make it 20, I have to multiply the first one by 5, right? And also divide by 5. For the second one, I have to multiply and divide by 2. So once I do that, I get my equivalent fraction as 5 over 20 plus 2 over 20. Now when they have the same denominator, numerators can be added and we get 7 over 20 as our answer. Is that clear? So the result is 7 over 20. Perfect. Now we'd like you to do part D yourself. You can pause the video and do it. Well, here is our solution. The first step, of course, is to find the lowest common multiple. So we have the numbers 8 and 12. Well, both can be divided by 4, 4 times 2 and 4 times 3. So the LCM for us is 4 times 2 times 3, which is equal to 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24. So we need 24 in the denominator. How can we get that? Well, we have 5 over 8, take away 5 over 12. To get 24, I should be multiplying the first by 3, right? So both numerator and denominator will be multiplied by 3. Here, we need to multiply and divide by 2. So what we get here is 15 over 24, take away 10 over 24. Now 15 take away 10 is 5. So we get our result as 5 over 24. So that becomes the solution. Is that clear to you? Perfect. So that is how we are going to do it. So now let's take more examples. You can actually pause the video. Try these questions yourself. These are for your practice. Okay, so once again, let's repeat our steps. We have different denominators in both the cases. So first step for us is to find the lowest common denominator, right? So for both the numbers, we'll find the lowest common denominator. The numbers for us are 8 and 6. Both can be divided by 2. So 2 times 4 and 2 times 3. So in this case, the LCM is equal to 2 times 4 times 3, which is 8 times 3 as 24. So we have to write these fractions with denominator of 24, correct? So we have here 2 over 8 minus 1 over 6. To get 24, we have to multiply this and divide by 3, the other one by 4. Once you do that, you get 6 over 24 minus 4 over 24, correct? Now 24 is the common denominator, 6 minus 4 is 2. So we can write this as equal to 2 over 24. Now 2 over 24 has a common factor of 2, so I could divide both by 2 and write the answer as 1 over 12. Is that clear to you? Perfect. Let's try to do the next one using the same strategy. The numbers are 9 and 6 in the denominator. They have a common factor of 3, which we'll take out. So it goes 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 2 is 6. And now the LCM is 3 times 3 times 2. So that dot is times. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. So LCM is 18 for 2 over 9 and 1 over 6. So now we have 2 over 9 plus 1 over 6. To get 18, the first one should be multiplied and divided by the 2. The second term should be multiplied and divided by 3. So when you do that, you get 4 over 18 plus 3 over 18. Now 4 plus 3 is 7. So 7 over 18 is our answer. Is that clear? Perfect. So that is how we are going to add and subtract fractions. Now here is doing addition and subtraction with 3 terms. So let's find the LCM first. So the LCM we need to find between the numbers 6, 4 and 8. We could divide them by 2, right? So dividing by 2 we get 3, 2 and 4. Between 2 and 4 again, 2 is a common factor. So we'll further divide by 2. So 3 cannot be divided, write it as such, 2 times 1 and 2 times 2. The LCM in this case will be 2 times 2 times 3 times 2. So what we get here is 2 times 2, 4, 4 times 3 is 12, twice 12 is 24. So we need to write each with denominator of 24. Clear? Now one way is that we could write a common denominator with a straight line, and we know we need to make each as 24. To get 24 in the first case, I should be multiplying this by 4, correct? Here, I should multiply by 6, and in this case by 3, correct? To get 24. So let's do it. 4 times 5 is 20, so we get 20 here, plus 6 times 1 is 6, minus 3 times 3 is 9. So we get 20 plus 6 minus 9 over 24. Now this is an alternate way, right? Common denominator 24. Now you can do 26 minus 9, or you could take this away and then 3. Anyway, you get 17 over 24 as your answer. Is that clear to you? That is how we are going to do it. Okay. Let's do this example. So in this particular case, we're talking about 3 numbers, which are 5, 10, and 15. We could divide them each by 5. So we get LCM of 5, let me write 2 first, 5 times 2 times 3, which is 30. So we have to write each one of them with denominator of 30. So let me do it in steps. We have 4 over 5 plus 3 over 10 minus 7 over 15. To get 30, I will multiply this by 6. For this, I'll multiply by 3 over 3, and here 2 over 2, right? So 2 times 15 is 30. So 6 times 4 is 24, 6 times 5 is 30, plus 3 times 3 is 9 over 30, minus 14 over 30. Do you see that? Here in this case, what I did was, I straight away wrote a line and 30 alone as a common denominator, and the numerator is 24 plus 9 minus 14. So that is a simpler step. I hope you get it, right? Now, 24 minus 14 is 10. When you add 9, you get 19 over 30 as your answer. Perfect. So that is how you should be doing, right? The last question here is here for you to practice. I like you to pause the video, answer this particular question, and then look into my suggestions. This is very similar to what we just did, okay? So let's again repeat the steps. First step is to find the LCM, right, for both. So the LCM is between the numbers 18, 8, and 6. Here the numbers are 8, 12, and 15. You could divide this by 2, so get 9, 4, and 3. Now we can divide by 3, for example. Order can be changed, but finally we get the same numbers. 3 times 3, 4 cannot be divided. So that's what you get, correct? Now, the LCM is product of all these numbers, 2 times, 3 times, 3 times, 4. Perfect? So, we get 2 times 3 as 6, 6 times 3 is 18, and 18 times. So we could say, well, this is 6 and this is 12, and when you multiply them, we get 72, right? So we have to make each as 72. So that becomes the lowest common denominator. To get 72, what should you multiply 18 by, right? So that is kind of tricky. So we already have 18, and we should multiply 18 by what to get 72? 8 times 4 is 32. So we have to multiply by 4. So this number gets multiplied by 4, right? Now 8 to 72. 8 is like 2 times 4, so you should be multiplying by 3 times 3, which is 9, right? As far as 6 is concerned, we have to multiply this by 12. Clear? So sometimes bigger numbers, you may need a calculator, okay? So 4 times 3 is 12, plus 9 times 4 is 36, minus 12 times 5 is 60. So that's what we get. You can use calculator to find these answers, right? In this case, we could divide by 4 straight away, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, but this cannot be divided. We'll write 15. Now, we can divide 3 and 15 by 3. So we get 3, 2 cannot be divided. That is what we get. So LCM in this case is 4 times 3 times 2 times 5. Now 4 times 3 is 12 and this is 10. So we get 120. So in this case, the LCM is 120, right? So you have to get 120, and what numbers should you multiply them each? 8. So 4 times 2 is 8, we are left with 15, so that should be multiplied by 15. 12. 4 times 3 is 12, multiply this by 10, so we get 120. And 15 means this, right? So multiply by 8. Do you see how, once we find this, we know what to multiply by? Is that clear? So we get numerator here is 15 minus 10 plus 8. Now we can use calculator to find our answer, right? So when you add 12 and 36, you get 48. So it is 48 minus 60 over 72, which is a negative number, right? So we get minus 10 take away 8 is 2, 5 take away 1, 4 is 1. So we get 12 over 72. Now 12 over 72 can be simplified and written as minus 1 over 6. Is that clear to you, right? So we could do that and get our answer. Now the first one here, let's go back to this one. What we have here is 15 minus 10 is 5, 5 plus 8 is 13, so we get 13 over 120, which is in the lowest terms. So the idea here is when you find the solution, you have to write answer. So basically you need to write answer in lowest terms. Is that clear to you, right? That may be a part of your question at times. Even if it is not, you should be writing in the lowest terms, or at times, if you get improper fractions, as mixed number. With this, we come to an end with this exercise on understanding how to add and subtract fractions. So what we learned here is a couple of important things. For adding or subtracting fractions, especially when the denominators are not same, we need to find the LCM, the lowest common multiple. We saw two methods to do it. Better is with the ladder division, right? So remember this division method. Is it okay? Ladder division. Once you know the LCM, then we have to write each fraction as an equivalent fraction with LCM as the denominator. And then you can add and subtract numerator to find the solution. I hope that makes sense. Feel free to write a comment, share your views, and if you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for watching and all the best.